So the XML, where is it used? So there is like SOAP protocol, Simple Object Access Protocol, which is XML-based protocol to let applications exchange information over HTTP. Now, then there is a RDF, Resource Description Framework. It's a XML-based language for describing web resources. Then RSS feeds you have heard, that is really simply simple syndication. So many websites provide RSS feed for basically newer content like news. What is the latest news? So they publish in form of RSS, and you can take that RSS and parse and display on your website. Then there is a WAP, Wireless Application Protocol, which is for you may be knowing earlier we used to use WAP on mobiles before this 3G, 4G. Then one other important thing, the SVG, which is graphics represented in XML format. So SVG images are there. So to conclude, XML can be used to define data and structure, and then it is self-describing because we use tags which are usually human readable, and the rules are a bit there are few rules that we must follow for the well formness of the XML, and then what we will learn later is for the validity of the XML. And to define those rules, we may use like XML schema or DTD. To parse XML, there are two methods, either SAX or DOM. DOM can only be used if the XML file size is lower than the size of the memory, because in DOM, entire XML element is loaded inside the memory as an inverted tree. And then there is XPath and XQuery. Basically, these are XML query languages uh, to obtain data from the XML document. So just like in array notation, if you remember, we used to write bracket notation, and if there are multi-dimensional, so multi-brackets. So same way here also, XML and XPath and XQuery is there, which can be used to write a query. Is similar like we write in SQL, select asterisks from name where select asterisks from user where name like some condition. So same way here also, we write conditions in XPath and XQuery. Okay, so one question is, use can we use to directly access database using XML without PHP? XML itself is a data store. Okay, so XML is for storing data. It's not for interacting with database. So we cannot. But XML can be used as a database. So in XML, we can store data. So there are XML-based databases where instead of row and column, data is stored in XML. Now, so someone has written, can you please take class a little bit slower? It is very difficult to catch up everything. Uh, see, most of the things I had already described. The anatomy of an XML document, start, end, content, simple element, complex element. All we learned in this new class was name spacing and then the parsers. Even DOM was already cleared. In fact, on DOM we saw so many examples. Now you are reading for the first time. That's why it looks like it's very difficult. And today is also not practical oriented because, like in PHP or HTML, we used to write tag and see how does this look like, and oh, समझ गए. But here, since it's totally conceptual, you all have to understand for now and mostly remember for later. Now, uh, the important part here is that any XML document, how do you parse it? How do you create it? How do you use it? Now, for all that, of course, since you are a developer, you will be using some programming language. And like PHP has a parser. And similarly, if you talk about JavaScript, we'll have another parser. So, so all you have to do is use the existing parsers and just parse the element. So can you give some example of XML database used in modern website? XML is not used as a database in websites because XML databases are slow. The parser takes time to parse the data. Even XPath and XQuery are a bit slow. So it's not used as a website. But other examples I have already given that you can see here that SOAP uses SOAP uses XML, like RDF uses XML, RSS feed uses XML. So like, so you can see that like this is um, RSS feed for India Today. So this is RSS feed for India Today, which you can use for showing some news information on your own website. So this is one example, RSS feed. Then there are uh, SVG document. I think this is a PNG. This is not SVG. Uh, this is again a PNG. So if you somehow find a SVG, um, that SVG is basically a so you have to search. Currently, mostly I'm getting PNG. Okay, now I got a SVG. If I open this, so this SVG, which is looking like an image, but it is actually an XML document, okay, which has been produced using XML as an image. So these are a few of the examples, like this RSS feed and XVG. If you are using SOAP protocol for API calls, then you will see that SOAP is also simple object access protocol, which is also in XML. So these are the few examples. Next question is, everything in XML can be done by SQL or JSON. See, SQL is a query language. XML is a data store. JSON is also data store. So everything that can be done by XML can be done by JSON, because both are data store or data interchange format. SQL is okay. SQL is query language, but database, if you want to say, if you are saying you mean to say database, then of course database or JSON or XML, any information can be represented in any of the three forms. Now, if you see JSON versus XML, so JSON is bit compact. Why? Because we have already seen, first thing is that every starting tag must have an ending tag. But if you remember JSON, all we used to do, right, name and colon value. So there is no end tag. So only one markup is there. So this is one benefit. Second benefit is in in this mobile. So if you are using a multi-valued attribute, then you are basically repeating the tag. So not only ending tag, a starting tag is also getting repeated. But if you use JSON, all you have to do is using single, using this square bracket notation, you can write all the multi-valued attributes. So in this way, JSON saves space than the XML. Okay, so that is one thing. Now, next we'll move on to data type definition. So what is the data type definition? So basically document type definition. So we already talked about XML well formats, where there are few rules which you need to follow. Like there should not be overlapping element, a start element should have an end element, then naming rules should be applied, case name, XML is case sensitive, the XML tag cannot be used as a tag name XML. This word should not be used. Now, second part was validity. So we saw one case where if I am sending XML from one server to another server, and in between it will be on wire, of course. So LAN wire or internet, and in between someone changes the XML document. So either adds some new tags or maybe remove some existing tag. Now, how do we know whether the document that has been received on the other end it is valid or not? Now, to ensure the validity of the XML document, um, we need to define the schema of the XML document. So what do you mean by a schema is basically we need to say that like this XML document has these tags, and like this tag is composed of these other tags. So like name tag is composed of first name, middle name, last name. Address is composed of flat number, locality, city, and city, state. So if any extra tag comes other than these, which is defined in the schema, then we will know that, okay, this is an invalid XML document. So DTD is one way of defining the schema of a XML document. So it defines the structure uh, and what are the allowed tags within an XML element. Now, just like we saw in CSS and in JavaScript also, that there may be two ways. So one way is I write DTD separately on one page and then import that DTD into our XML element so that our XML element knows where is the DTD, or we can write the DTD directly inside the XML element. So these are the two ways. So for writing an internal, all we have to do is declare a doc type and then the name of the root element and then closing. And in between, whatever element declaration is there, like declaration means that like name is a element or ID is a attribute or this is a entity reference. So all those kind of declaration, or like saying that address is composed of city and state. So all those declaration I will add in between this starting and ending. Now, second way is I can create an external file like imply.dtd, and inside that imply.dtd, I will write all the element declaration, and then in our XML file, I will add it. So how do I add it? So declare a doc type, and then the name of the root element of the XML, then system keyword, and that file name. So like imply.dtd. So let me remove this. So imply.dtd. So, so suppose I write declarations here and I want to include that DTD here in the imply document. So all I have to do is less than doc type, then the root element. So what is the root element? CDAC, and then the keyword system, and then the name of the DTD file, emp.dtd. So this is how I add a external DTD uh, in our XML document. Now, so this is done. So how do we add an external file, or how do we declare an internal DTD? That is done. Now, next important thing is how do I define what are the tags, what are the attributes, what are the entities that are allowed inside my XML document. So we'll go one by one with entities. So how do I declare an entity? So there are two ways of declaring the entity. So first part is that if it is a simple element, then all I need to do is write element, name of the element, and then the type of the element.
The voice is breaking, sir.
Then it is your problem because I am on a very good net connection. Okay, so I'm in office. So so this is first way that for declaring an element, I will use the keyword element, name of the element, and then the type. So type may be like PC data, so past character data, or it may be empty. So like BR tag is an empty tag. Okay, so br tag is an empty tag. So in that case, I will write empty. Now, second way is that if it's a complex element, it means the element will have other element as child. So in that case, I'll have to declare element, the name of the element, and then the child element, whatever child elements are there. So like here I have defined person tag. It's a combination of name, date of birth, and address. Okay. So let us will try to write this for our these tags. So like name is there. First, we'll start with the simple tags. So like not element, then the name of the tag. So name of the tag is suppose name itself, and I will use simply PC data. So this is for all the simple elements. So for all the simple element, I can use this kind of declaration. So name, then other simple elements like mobile is there, line one is there, locality is there, city is there. So I can add for everything. So is there, mobile is there, then city is there, locality is there. Now remember, it's case sensitive. So if you are using capital C, so here also I should use capital C. I will copy paste for others also. Like what are the other? Suppose I change it to organization name or so org name location line one. So line one org name location. Fine. So did we cover everything? Name, mobile, line one, locality, city. Designation is missing. So designation will add. So this is all the simple elements. So all the simple elements I can declare using PC data. Now, next thing is uh, declaring the complex element. Now, for declaring the complex element, you can see here we have written that it can be written as a combination of the child element. Okay, so we will also try to write them. So if you see the first, our complex element is like address, which is a combination of line one, locality, and city. So let us declare that. So the name of the element is address, and it is a combination of line one, locality, and city. So I will write in the bracket line one, comma, locality, comma, city. So first complex element is done. Next is organization, which is a combination of org name and location. So I'll copy paste this. And organization is a combination of org name and Listen, I will come back to here. Now, now this notations will go through. So what is this notation? So this notation asterisk means mobile number can be either 0 or more than 0. So 0 or more basically. So if someone has written mobile number in the XML document, that is also fine. If he has not written, that is also fine. And asterisk represent any number. It means that he can add 10 mobiles, he can add 100 mobiles, he can add 1000 mobiles. Still the XML will be valid. Now this notation is or. Or means either he has mobile or he has email. So this is either or notation. Now next notation is plus. So plus means um, so asterisk was 0 or more. 0 means even if mobile is not there, still it is fine. And plus says that at least one address will be there. So it is one or more. So one or more, and this is 0 or more. And this is question mark. So question mark is 0 or 1. So date of birth, either you write or only one date of birth you have to write. You cannot write two date of birth. So that's why date of birth is declared as this question mark. So question mark means 0 or 1. So I will repeat. Asterisk means 0 or more. So mobile number may be present in any number or may not be present. This slash or, so or is for either of the two fields. So either mobile or email. Plus is for one or more. So it means at least one address must be there. And the question mark is for one or more. So it can be maximum one, minimum 0. Okay, so we added for address and organization. And final is imply info. So imply info I have to write. Now, now imply info. If you go back to our imply XML, can you see in the second imply info, only name is there and other fields are not there. It means name is mandatory, other fields are not mandatory. Okay. So so for this I can write name, comma, and for the other sorry, for the other elements like mobile, address. So let me write mobile, which can be if I want to write plus, so it means that it can be more than one. So mobile or address or designation organization. And then name mobile designation organization. And to be safe, what we can do is this entire you can put inside a asterisk. So it means that either of them is there or they are not there. asterisk means zero occurrence. That is also fine. Okay, so this is now suppose that this was not there. So it means all the fields are required, and in that case, means it will be simply all will be comma separated. So in that case, all will be comma separated because all fields are required. So remember, for now we are seeing XML and creating DTD, but actually company will first create DTD. That this is how my schema should look like. Now you write an XML and validate against this DTD whether your XML is valid or not. But for now, just for knowing how the DTD is written, we are referring the XML. So this is for imply info. And finally, there is the root tag. So root tag also we need to write, which is not element cdag, and cdag is composed of uh, emp underscore info in any, so more than one can also imply info can be there. Okay, so this is the DTD only for elements that we have written. Now next thing is attribute. So we have attributes in our XML. So what is this attribute? So like organization is there and user ID is there. Okay. So how do we write an DTD for or this? So for that we write ATT list and then the element name. Element name means any attribute. It will be basically attached to a element. So if you see our example, this organization attribute is attached to this element, imply info. So, so we need to write element name, then the attribute name, attribute type, and then if any attribute value is there, then I will write the attribute value. Okay. So example is like this: attribute list, organization is the tag, um, sorry, and type is the name of the attribute. It's a C data, and the value is CDAC. Okay, so this is usually the default value. Now, instead of this value, since I do not want to fix any value, what we can write are uh, some of these parameters we can write. And what do these parameters mean? So first thing is required. So required means that that attribute must be there. Okay. So like user ID. So user ID must be there for all the users because user ID is a primary key using which we try to access that user. So that is a required field. Now one is implied field. So if it is there, fine. If it is not there, still fine. Now, third one is fixed. Fixed means that attribute will always take a fixed value. So like maybe if our tag is organization, so organization for one will always be CDAC because inside CDAC we do not find any other person belonging to other organization. So organization attribute is always fixed. And then there are some attributes which are enumerated. So enumeration means they have a fixed value to select from, like gender or sex. It can be either male or female. And then we can write that default value will be male. So these are some of the ways we can declare an attribute. So let us write for our attributes. Attribute list. Then the element name. So which element has attributes? Imply info. So we will write emp underscore info. Then what is the name of the attribute? So first is organization and second is user ID. So we'll go with organization. Okay. Now, what do you think should we use here? Whether we should use required, implied, or fixed? So of course, since organization will be fixed, will have fixed value, so we should use fixed. So we'll write here C data means type of data, and then fixed. And what will be the fixed value? C data, suppose. Now, if in the XML someone writes other than CDEC, like someone writes Tata, then in that case it will the XML validation will fail. Why fail? Because it says that it is fixed and the fixed value is CDEC. So it means that if someone has changed it to Tata, so it's a invalid entry. This is done. And next, last but not the least, is user ID, which is not fixed, but it's a required field because user ID must be there. I cannot write it as a implied field. Okay. So let me add one more tag, info, because we did not capture, so we did not capture any entity reference. So for entity reference, I have added it. Now, since one tag has increased, so I have to add one extra tag info. Info, and then info is inside imply info, so I will have to add after designation because it is between designation and organization. So in this imply info, name, mobile address, designation, after designation I have to add info. uh, Implied is 0 or more. So I mean to say that if you write that attribute, that is also fine. If you do not write, that is also fine. So either it is required, it means that that attribute must be there. Implied, it means that attribute may be there, may not be there. And fixed, it means it should be there, but it will have a fixed value. So that is the three part. So I added info here also in the imply info. So that was, so first we went through element, how do we declare element? Then we went through how do we declare an attribute. And the last is entity declaration. So for entity declaration, we write the this declaration entity, then the name of the entity and the value of the entity. Okay. So you may be knowing this %, and suppose NBSP. This is our name of the entity NBSP. And what is the value? Basically, value is a space. So entity, and what is the name of the entity? Author. Okay. So the question is there. What is the question? C data and PC data. Let me finish this. Okay. So name of the entity reference is author. So I will use author and then the value. So suppose I want to put value as Anu, or Balaji. So this is the entity reference. It means wherever someone will write ampersand author, it will be replaced with Balaji. Just like whenever you write ampersand LT semicolon, it will be replaced with less than element. So same way here also, this entity reference author, it will be replaced by Balaji. Okay. So this is entity reference. Now coming on to the question, what is the difference between C data and PC data? So PC data is parsed character data. So any data that can be parsed by a parser, it is so it is PC data, parsed character data. Now there is some data which cannot be parsed. Basically, like if you have written a program code in which there are many special character, and you do not want to change those special character to an entity reference, because then the program will lose its touch. Okay. So for I think I had given example. Um, So I would given the example that like this is a small PHP program. Now this PHP program is using like double quotes, less than question mark. So these elements are special symbols, and I don't want to convert it to like ampersand LT or this with ampersand quote, because then in that case the program, it will be difficult to understand, okay, what program is this. So therefore, but if you leave it as it is, the older version, then the parser will say that, okay, this has a special meaning. This is the start of a tag. So parser will be confused. So that's why we declare this kind of data as C data. C data is character data. It means the parser will not parse this. Parser only parses PC data, parsed character data. It doesn't parse the C data. So it doesn't check for whether that value is valid or not. It won't check. So that's why we declare C data. Now coming back to our DTD. So for entity, we write the entity keyword, then name of the entity, and then the value of the entity. Okay. So like one entity is instructor and the value is Anup Kumar Pandey. So wherever someone is writing ampersand instructor semicolon, it will be replaced with Anup Kumar Pandey. So that's all in the DTD. So we have seen how to write a DTD for a document. We added as an external element, and we declared DTD for all the elements. Now elements may be simple element, or they may be a complex element. So for simple element, simply we can write the data type as parsed character data. For complex element, we'll have to write the child name. Now child name, we also can specify few of the this wildcard which have different meanings. Like asterisk means that element is either 0 or more, it can be present. Plus is 1 or more. Question mark is 0 or 1. Slash parallel is for either or. So either mobile tag is there or email tag is there. Any one of them is there, it's fine. Then we moved on to attribute. Attribute is usually associated with an element. So before attribute name, we write the element name, and then we declare the type of the attribute, which is usually C data, and then the attribute value, which can be anything. Like it can be a fixed value, it can be an implied value, it can be a required value, or it may be a enumeration. Enumeration means uh, a fixed set of values from where it can take its value. So like gender, which can be either male or female. So only two possible values are there. And then finally entity. So there will be a name of the entity and there will be a corresponding value for the entity. So like ampersand NBSP semicolon, it means this means a space. Ampersand GT semicolon, it means a greater than tag. So here also entity name will be there and then the value will be there. So for example, instructor and Anup Kumar Pandey. So in that case, if someone writes ampersand instructor semicolon, so it should be replaced with Anup Kumar Pandey. So that is all in the DTD. Now, and in the process of understanding, we have written the DTD for the imply. So that is all from XML. So um, we went through all the components of an XML: start tag, end tag, element, simple element, XML element, root element. Then we saw PC data versus character data. So if I do not want any data to be parsed by the parser, then we declare it C data, like a program code. And then we learned about namespace. So if there are two tags which have the same name, so there will be conflict in resolving the name. So in that case, we use namespaces, which we add as a prefix. So to tell the parser that, okay, this tag belongs to this namespace, so that it is not confused. Next we saw parsers. So one parser was DOM, in which the entire XML document was loaded as a inverted tree inside the memory, and then we have a various function for traversal across the tree. uh, but it has memory constraint. And then we saw sex parser, which was event driven. So events are like a start element, end element, characters, start document, end document. So various events are there, and all you need to do is write handler on the execution of those events. So once these events are thrown, you have to check what has to be done. So there are uh, parsers available with the basic structure, and all you have to do is write handlers depending on what is your XML. Now, for the XML, we have the sample XMLs we saw, like RSS feeds from a news, or like we saw SVG document, which is graphics represented using XML. There are other examples like SOAP, RDF, then WAP. WAP we used to use earlier before 3C. Then we went on to DTD, which is for XML validation, so that like if imply XML is there and inside a new tag someone has written monkey. Now monkey tag cannot be there in a imply, but how do I know that? So somebody need to define what are the tags that can be in this XML. For that kind of definition, we write a DTD or XSD. SSD is for XML schema description. Now, no, but we are using here DTD. So in DTD also we have tried to define like what kind of element is there, or what one element, if one element is composed of other elements. So we have to write all those things. Now remember that this order matters. I have told in earlier also that order matters. Like if I write name after mobile, but here name is before mobile, then the validation will fail. So order matters. Even in HTML, as I said earlier also, that in HTML also, if you change the order, uh, write image before paragraph or write paragraph before image, both are different things. Both will look different. So order is important. So that's all for today in XML and DTD. So we have time 15 minutes more. In fact, we have half an hour more. Mm, Okay, but we'll finish now. And uh, from class point of view, if you have any queries, then you can ask. Fast recaps. Today's I have already recapped everything. Do you want from start of the this module? Okay, so link from where you have to download the video lecture, I don't know. How you have been downloading earlier videos? Same way. I think Indrani madam may have shared link with you. Share the PPT. Of course, I will share it. What now? I will share it now. Okay, next thing is recap of DTD. So recap of DTD. So DTD is for document type definition, which will basically tell what will be the schema of the XML. It means what will be the elements that will be in XML and what element will be composed of what other elements if it is a complex element. What will be the allowed attributes in that XML? What will be the allowed entity reference in that XML? So all those things we write in a DTD. For example, uh, this is our XML element and this is our DTD. Now we start with simple elements. So for simple element, uh, the name of the element and then the content, which is a parsed character data. So we, for simple element, we simply write element, the name of the element and parsed character data and so on. So you can see name, mobile, city, locality, line one, org name, everything here is a simple element. Now, once we cover the simple element, we move on to complex element. Now, complex element, usually they will be composed of more than one element. So like address is composed of line one, then locality, and then city. Then organization is there, which is composed of organization and location. And then imply itself is there, which is composed of name, mobile, address, designation, info, and organization. So what do we do is we write first the name of the element and in bracket we write all the children. Now again I will repeat, order is preserved. So same way you should write how it should appear on the XML. Now, few things are there like plus. Plus means at least one mobile should be there. So one or more is for plus. And then asterisk means zero or more. So either, uh, I mean, any count, either zero, it means that it's not there, or more, it means that more than one, two, three, four. So any number it can be there. So this is for complex element. So where element is described in terms of their children element. Then we have attributes, like in our case we have organization and user ID. Every attribute it will be associated with a element. So that's why before the attribute we write the name of the element. Now attribute may take multiple values, so it may be a required value that you cannot skip this, or it is a fixed value like organization has a fixed value of CDAC, or it may be implied. Implied means even if you do not write, it's fine. And or it may be enumeration. Enumeration means it can take value only from a set of defined keywords like gender, it may be male or female. So in our case, organization is taking fixed value and user ID is a required value because it's a primary key, so it must have some value. And finally, we declare entity references. So entity references, any entity name will be replaced with a value. Okay, so uh, like ampersand lt semicolon, it means this symbol. Ampersand gt semicolon, sorry, ampersand gt semicolon, it means greater than value. So there is the name of the entity and then the value of the entity. So if I write ampersand author semicolon, it should be replaced with balance. So this is DTD for element, attribute, and entity. Uh, the URI in XML NS is for telling where is that namespace located. So basically your parser will refer that URI to check what are the available tags in that namespace. Okay, so that is the XML namespace URI. So only writing the namespace is not sufficient. We should specify where is that namespace. So this, okay, so next question is Swara is saying explain imply one.xml. So any XML document, it is used for storing information. Now information may be stored in the format of start tag, then the data, and then the end tag. Now some information may be composite of other information, like address is composite of line 1, locality, and city. These are called complex element. Then there are some attribute which is attached to an element, which define basically which is for defining this. Even in HTML, you would have seen image source equal to something. Now that source is an attribute, or width equal to 100. So that width is the attribute. And then some entity reference for special symbols. Uh, Monica is asking what does this indicate? This indicates 0 or 1. So it can take either 0 value or 1 value. So like example was date of birth. So date of birth can maximum take 1 value. A person may not have 2 date of birth or 0. So he doesn't want to disclose his date of birth, so 0. Damini. So first we have to save that namespace in that URI and this is then specify. Most of the URI and namespace are already there. All you have to do is use instead of declaring. Okay, this sub is asking, I have a question regarding dollar underscore file global variable. Can I ask? Yes, ask.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a question regarding PHP. Can I ask it?
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I'm using a Mac laptop, in which when I'm trying to upload a file using a global variable file, I think the permissions is not set. So I just wanted to ask how to do it, like you did in the
Refer
previous.
the video. already I showed in the video, chmod is the command to set a permission. So refer the video.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so Vijay is asking when will be our exam, AWP exam will be conducted. So basically it will be, as per instruction, it will be conducted later on. But if you want, on Monday, I can conduct an online exam if you want to appear. I can conduct an online exam. I will give you an URL. You all can log into that URL using your PRN, and then you can take up the exam. Now, Monica is asking, there is internal and external DTD, two type of DTD. Will you please tell me about that? Okay. So initially itself, I said that this was XML. Let me close it. So DTD that either you write your DTD outside, okay, and then add it to your XML using this, not doc type, the name of the root element, system, and file name, which I have done here. So I created an external file DTD and then added here using this line, doc type, root element, because CTAG is the root element, then system keyword, and then the name of the file. Now, second way was that I write the DTD declaration inside the XML itself. So for that, this is the way, not doc type, root element, and this. So let me change it to this. So instead of system and DTD, all I have to do is add this, and I will copy paste all the DTD, Control A, Control C, and paste it here, Control V. This is your internal DTD. So you wrote all the DTD declaration inside the XML file. Okay. So this is the internal one. Or I will revert it to the original.